Have you ever been scrolling your feed and just got this weird feeling that it has a mind of its own? You know, that it's not just showing you the world anymore, but it's actively building a little world just for you to live in. Today, we are diving deep into the engine room of the X platform, and we're going to use this really fascinating framework to explore a kind of wild idea, that the platform has become a system that is literally eating itself.
So let's just start with a question that I think we've all had at some point. You're scrolling that For You feed, but who is it really for? I mean, is it there to serve you, to bring you joy and information, or is your attention actually the fuel that keeps this whole giant machine running? The core idea we're going to unpack today is the platform as a digital Ouroboros. You know that ancient symbol of a snake eating its own tail? Well, in this case, it's a social media system that has become this closed, self-referential loop. It's a system that more and more is just feeding on its own content, its own data, and even its own AI-generated reality, all just to keep growing.
Okay, so to really understand how this is all happening, we have to pop the hood and look at the engine. Let's start with the heart of this Ouroboros, the For You algorithm itself.
The first thing you've got to get is that the algorithm isn't just a neutral window to the world. There's a really technical term for this. It's called an autopoietic system, which, yeah, is a mouthful, but it's basically a fancy way of saying it's a network that creates its own reality. Its main goal isn't to show you the real world, but to build a digital one that's so compelling you never, ever want to leave. And the sheer scale of this reality-shaping machine is just staggering. Every single day, a super powerful neural network that they call the heavy ranker makes about 5 billion decisions about what you see. Now, a neural network, in this case, it kind of acts like a complex brain, right? It's constantly learning your patterns, your preferences, trying to predict what will keep you glued to the screen. So every single refresh, every scroll, that's the result of a crazy high-speed calculation designed purely to maximize your time on the platform. Okay, now this is where it gets really, really interesting. Look at how the system actually values what you do. A simple like, that's a pretty weak signal, it's the baseline, but look at the extremes. If you click a link that takes you off the platform, you actually get hit with a negative penalty. The serpent does not want you to leave its body. On the flip side, a reply is super highly valued because it starts arguments and conversations that can be monetized with ads. And watching a video for more than half its length? Oh yeah, that is the jackpot. That's the signal that it's captured the most precious resource of all, your time. So if the algorithm is the brain of this serpent, what's its metabolism? What's the energy that powers this whole loop? Well, the answer, of course, is money. But the way it works has created some just deeply weird incentives. And this brings us to a huge kind of mind-bending paradox. To make money, X set up a system to share ad revenue with creators. But what happened was, it basically created an economy where users are literally paid to flood the system with low-quality noise. They are financially incentivized to pollute the very data stream that the platform needs to function properly. It's wild. So how does this actually work? How do you farm this engagement for cash? Well, to get paid, you need massive engagement. We're talking 5 million impressions in just 3 months. And the cash comes from ads that are shown in the replies to your posts. So what's the fastest way to get a fire hose of replies? It's not thoughtful, nuanced analysis. It's controversy. It's picking fights. It's what we all know as rage bait. And this chart just lays it out perfectly. This incentive structure directly leads to way more rage bait and what the source calls feed pollution. You know, just endless recycled memes, stolen content, and AI-generated slop. And all of this just tanks the overall quality of what you see in your feed, creating this high activity but ultimately very low meaning environment. All right, but now we're going to see how this whole thing really escalates. Because this is where the serpent truly starts to eat its own tail. The platform has its own AI, Grok, and its integration has created a feedback loop that could threaten the very fabric of information on the platform itself. Now, before we get into the loop, we need to understand this really key danger in the AI world, model collapse. Basically, this is what happens when an AI starts training on the content that it created. It's like making a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. Every single time the image gets a little blurrier, it loses detail, and it just drifts further and further away from the original reality. And here is exactly how that whole photocopy process can play out on X. So a rumor or some misinformation starts spreading. Grok, which has real-time access to everything on the platform, sees this spike in activity and learns from it. It then generates its own summary or a news headline based on that bad data.
And then finally, users see this official-looking Grok summary and they share it as if it's fact, which then just confirms the AI's initial error. The system literally validates its own hallucination.
And look, this is not a hypothetical. The source material points to a real-world example where Grok created a completely fake headline about Iran attacking Tel Aviv, all based on a flurry of bad info from a bunch of unreliable accounts. The platform's algorithm then took that AI-generated lie and promoted it as a trending news story. That's the serpent eating a poisoned tail. So, where is all of this heading? The source argues that the platform is really at a critical fork in the road right now, and it's facing two radically different futures. On one path, you've got this positive regenerative spiral. Things like community notes could create a system for finding truth together, a kind of global brain. But on the other path is the degenerative loop we've been talking about, the one that leads to a dead internet where AI and engagement farmers just completely drown out any real human conversation. Now, that dead internet theory might sound like something out of science fiction, but the data is pointing towards it becoming a reality. A recent report cited in our source projects that by 2025, nearly half of all internet traffic will be automated bot activity. Just think about that for a second. Almost half the conversation happening online won't even be human at all. And when our digital town squares are just filled with automated noise, what does that do to our ability to find truth or to even trust what we see? And this quote from the source material just perfectly captures that bleak future. A digital ghost town, a zombie platform that's buzzing with automated activity where bots and AI agents are just farming engagement from each other while all the real humans have long since left. I mean, this isn't just about a bad user experience. It's about the potential collapse of a major information ecosystem. Okay, so that's the diagnosis, and yeah, it's pretty intense. But this isn't meant to be a eulogy for the platform. Think of it as a call to action, because you do not have to be a passive victim of the algorithm. Let's talk about how you can actually take back control. The goal is to become what the source calls a sovereign individual. And what does that mean? It means a user who just refuses to be passively swept along by the For You feed. Instead, they treat the platform like what it is, a tool. It's a massive database that you can search and filter with intention. It's about using the machine without letting the machine use you. And this table right here, this is your playbook. You can bypass the algorithm entirely by using and pinning lists that just forces a simple chronological feed from people you trust. You can use browser extensions to hide all the distracting metrics. You can create these really aggressive mute lists to filter out all the clickbait words. And you can actively participate in community notes, helping the platform's own immune system do its job. At the end of the day, all of these strategies really come down to one single thing. It's a shift in your mindset. It's asking yourself, are you the operator of the machine, or have you just become the fuel that the machine burns to keep itself running? And that leads us to our final lingering question. Because as X pushes to become this everything app, integrating payments, and as AI like Grok gets powerful enough to actually write your posts for you, the line starts to get really, really blurry. If the machine is curating your reality, generating your thoughts, and handling your money, who exactly is the user anymore? Is it you, or is it the serpent itself?